If you're 50 or older and have little to no retirement savings, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is not the best situation to be in. However, the good news is that if you take this video serious, the problem is fixable, but you will have to make immediate changes. And in today's video, we're gonna go over exactly what those changes are so that we can get you back on track to building a sizable retirement savings. Don't panic, we're gonna work through this together step by step. You have a lot more options than you probably think. The first step of this process is gonna be setting your expectations. This is not gonna be something that you hear in any other video like this, but if you are currently 50 or older and you are not retirement ready, then you need to really start thinking seriously about what to expect during your retirement years. The kind of car that you drive, how often you travel, where you live, these are all really big ticket items that can quickly eat into your retirement savings, and so it's going to be important that you change the mental picture of what retirement will look like for you instead of basing it on what you see in TV or in the movies. Listen, just because you don't have millions of dollars saved up for retirement does not mean that you still can't enjoy your retirement years and that life is over. That's nonsense. First of all, you're not the only one in this situation. You're not alone. According to the Federal Reserve, only 36% of non-retired adults thought that their retirement savings was on track. So don't feel like you're alone in this situation, and definitely don't beat yourself up. We're gonna work through this together. So the very first thing that you need to do to set yourself up for a better retirement is to cut expenses. This is gonna be by far the easiest way to subsequently save more money. And I already know, some of you are rolling your eyes at the screen right now because you've heard this before. But that's the reason why you're still in your current situation, is because you're not taking that advice serious. Listen, like I mentioned in the first point of this video, it's gonna be critical that you start adjusting your expectations. If you are spending every single dollar that you earn, then it is mathematically impossible to save money. Now, let's make this as practical as possible, okay? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take out a notebook or a piece of paper or your computer or your phone, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just find something to write with. Next, I want you to draw 3 lines exactly like you see on the screen right here. So we have 4 separate columns. On the far left column at the top, write expenses. In the next column over, write keep. In the next column, write remove. And finally, on the far right column, I want you to write the word replace. This right here is the Mayo expense removal system. I don't know, I just made it up, but here's what's gonna happen. On this left column, underneath expenses, I want you to write down every single expense that you have. Every single one. And if you don't know every single expense that you have, well, there you go. That's part of the problem. Every single penny that exits your bank account, you should know exactly where it's going. Otherwise, I can almost guarantee you that money is slipping through the cracks somewhere. So go through your bank statements, go through your credit card statements. Even if it's painful to look at that stuff, you need to be honest with yourself if you actually want this to work. Okay, so you need to go through these statements and you need to find all of the recurring expenses. Your rent or mortgage payment, car payment, subscriptions, bills, utilities, groceries, things like that. Things that you have to pay for every single month. I want you to take those expenses and just write them down in this far left column. After you've done that and you are 100% certain that every single expense has been accounted for and is on this list, it's time for the next step. You now need to indicate which of these expenses are necessities, as in things that you need in order to survive, and then which of these expenses are non-necessities. So using a highlighter or by circling the expenses, I want you to indicate which of these expenses are actually necessities. Mortgage or rent, a necessity, right? You need a place to live. Groceries, necessity. Energy bill, necessity, right? So just go through this list and indicate all of the necessities. Once you've done that, it's time for the most important part, okay? So every single one of these expenses are gonna be filtered into one of the 3 columns to the right of expenses, right? So keep, remove, and replace. The column that says keep, this is where all of your expenses are gonna go that you plan on keeping. You're not gonna touch those. The column that says remove, this is where all of your expenses will go that you're gonna remove completely, as in you aren't paying for them anymore. Sorry, Sports Illustrated, goodbye. And the last column here that says replace is gonna be for the expenses that you'll keep, but you'll just find cheaper alternatives to them. For example, do you really need an $800 per month car payment? Or could you downgrade and perhaps pay $300 per month for a car and save yourself $500 per month that you can then go to invest? I'm gonna be 100% honest with you here, okay? This is not gonna be easy, but if you actually want to retire with money, then you have to be honest with yourself and you have to make these sacrifices, okay? So assess your current situation and then take rational and logical steps to make your situation better. Now, when you're filtering your expenses into these 3 columns, I want you to first start with all of the expenses that you did not highlight or circle. In other words, you're first gonna start by filtering out the non-necessity expenses. Do you keep them? Do you remove them? Do you replace them with cheaper alternatives? All of the expenses that you know for a fact that you don't need, add them to the remove column, and then cross them out on your expenses column. Again, be rational, be logical. I want you to think about how often you're actually using some of these things that you're paying for, because if you're not using it, then it's probably safe to say that you could remove it and save yourself that money. Instead of thinking about it as you're losing something, like you're losing your Sports Illustrated magazine subscription, look at it like you're gaining something. You're gaining more money that you can then use to invest to give yourself a much better retirement savings. And if you really insist on keeping something that is a non-necessity, I really want you to consider how you might be able to replace it with a cheaper alternative. So once you've done that, I want you to now focus on all of the ones that you've circled or highlighted as in your necessity expenses. Now, obviously, all of these you will keep. However, with a lot of them, you will likely be able to replace them with cheaper options. Now, I say it again, okay? This is not gonna be easy. It's gonna be very difficult to downsize and to remove expenses and to get rid of things that you're used to having, but unfortunately, because you didn't make sacrifices early on in life, you're gonna have to make those sacrifices now. So once you finish filtering all of these expenses into one of the three columns, all of your expenses are crossed out, then it's time to start actually taking action on these items. All of the items that you have in your remove column, waste 0 time canceling those items, canceling those subscriptions. And when the service is trying to convince you to stay with them like they always do, just remember, you're making somebody else rich by staying with that subscription that you hardly use. You need to focus on enriching your future and setting yourself up for a better, more comfortable retirement. Items in the replace column, same thing. Start researching, start trying to find cheaper alternatives to these expenses so that you can downsize, save more money, and invest more. If you take this exercise serious, if you actually go through and do what I just showed you, then it will have a big impact on your future. But you need to take it serious. And then all of the money that you save from the expenses that you cut, you'll invest. Which brings us to the next very important point. If you don't already have an investment account, it's gonna be paramount that you open one up and begin investing. For starters, if you do have an employee-sponsored retirement account, something like a 401k, and your employer does offer 401k matching, as in they will match the money that you invest into your 401k up to a certain percentage of your salary, then you absolutely need to be maxing out your contributions at least up to the percentage that your employer will match. Most employers will match up to a certain percentage based off your total salary. And so you definitely want to be investing at least what your employer is matching, because that's literally free money. Now, if you do not have a 401k and you've never invested a single penny in your entire life, then I've got good news. It's not too late and you do have options. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to your favorite broker. It doesn't matter who it is, but you're going to want to open up what's called a Roth IRA account. Now, I've got an entire video walking you through the entire process of opening up a Roth IRA, and I urge you to watch it after you finish watching this video, of course. But basically, a Roth IRA is just a type of retirement account that allows you to invest your money into the stock market and earn tax-free gains. This means that when you start making withdrawals, when you start pulling money out of that account during retirement, that none of that money will be taxed by Uncle Sam. Now, in terms of what to invest in with that account, if you have more than 5 years left until retirement, then I personally see no reason to be very aggressive and invest 100% of your money into stocks. Now, I have to say this, otherwise my lawyer will hurt me, but this is not financial advice, okay? There, I said it. You happy? Now, I don't want you going out and just picking individual stocks from individual companies and building your portfolio that way. That would just take way too much time and knowledge. Instead, what you can do is just invest in the entire US stock market by investing into an ETF like VTI or the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund ETF. This ETF will give you broad exposure over the entire US stock market. Over 4,136 stocks with top holdings in Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and many others. And you get exposure to all of these stocks by investing in one ETF that you can buy at any broker. I've got my demo broker open up here, and I'm going to show you just how easy it would be to invest in the entire US stock market with no previous experience, with no knowledge of investing whatsoever. You can invest in the entire US stock market in a matter of minutes. So within your broker, simply go to the order entry window, okay, or the place where you can buy and sell stocks, and it's going to be slightly different for every broker, but all you would do is just type in VTI. The ETF will pop up. You enter how many shares you want to buy. In this example account, I have a little bit under $1,000, and so I'm just going to buy as many shares of VTI as I can with that money. Then just submit the order, verify the information, and then execute. That's it. I am now officially investing in the entire US stock market. Don't let anybody fool you into thinking that this process of investing is any harder than what it actually is. And so anytime you add money to your brokerage account, you simply go and you buy more shares of this ETF just like you did the first time. Now, you don't just just buy it once and then forget about it. If you want to continue growing your money, then you have to continuously be investing more money into your brokerage account and buy more shares of VTI if you actually want your money to continue growing. In terms of how much to invest, you really want to be investing as much money as you possibly can. If you're over the age of 50, then your maximum contribution limit within the Roth IRA is $7,000. This means you can invest $7,000 per year into this account and watch that money grow completely tax-free. If you manage to invest $7,000 per year, or about $583 per month over the next, let's say, 15 years, with an 11% return, or 8% if you adjust it for inflation, your money would grow to nearly $200,000 by retirement. And let's just say, for example, that instead of retiring at 65, you instead retire at 70. With just those extra 5 years to invest, your investment would grow to a whopping $338,000. And if you're investing inside of a Roth IRA account, then none of those investment gains will be taxed. And what's even better is that these investment gains don't even include the money that you'll be receiving from your Social Security checks. More on that later. But this is exactly why the previous step, cutting your expenses, is so important, because the more expenses that you can cut, the more money you'll have to save and invest. The next step of this plan is increasing your income through additional income sources. If you have little to nothing saved up for retirement, and with your current income you can't afford to save and invest, then you will have to find additional sources of income. Really, you only have about 3 options. The first option is you can request a raise at your current job. The second option is you can go find another job that pays more money. And the third option, which can be combined with the first 2 options, is starting a side hustle or a side business. And if you really wanted to increase your income a lot more, then you would keep your current job. And if you don't currently have a job, then find a job. But then in addition to your job, you would go start a side hustle or a side business. This way you have 2 streams of income coming in that you can use to pay for all of your bills, and then you can invest the remainder. Now, in my last video, I talked about how I started building websites as a side hustle. I learned everything about how to build websites from the internet. And in terms of ideas for side hustles, there are endless amount of articles and videos online discussing the best side hustles to make money from. Simply search into Google or YouTube best side hustles and you'll find a ton of different ideas. The only thing that you have to do is just figure out what you're good at and then find ways to monetize it. And if you don't have any marketable skills, then you need to take time to learn a new skill. You know, I didn't go to school to be a web developer. I learned everything I needed online for free and earned hundreds of thousands of dollars doing it in just a couple of years. Use websites like Upwork, Fiverr, and Freelancer to market your skills as a service and make money on the side. Or even better, perhaps you have a hobby that you're already doing and you can make money off of it. For example, websites like Etsy let you open up shops and make money by selling handmade crafts, downloadable templates, and so much more. Websites like Creative Market and Envato Market let you sell a plethora of digital goods like PowerPoint templates, fonts, 3D render files, cartoon illustrations, and so much more. All of these websites present real opportunities for you to go and make additional income on the side. You know, I don't know what skills you have or what you would even be willing to learn, but that's a question only you can answer. The only thing that I can do is just get you thinking about what steps you need to take to make your situation better. And I personally think that picking up a side hustle or even starting a second part-time job are both extremely valid ways to earn additional money that you can then use to invest to give yourself a much better retirement. The next step in the process of retiring comfortably is consider working a little bit longer. This is arguably the most important step in this video. I want to give you 2 different examples, okay? In both of these examples, let's just pretend that you're 55 years old. In the first example, you retire at the average age of 62, which gives you 7 years to invest your money. Using the same exact numbers from earlier, let's assume that you're able to save about $583 per month. Over 7 years with an 8% return on your investment, your money would grow to almost $65,000. Additionally, depending on how much you've earned over your entire career, you will be eligible to start claiming Social Security at the age of 62. Now, as of 2022, the average retired worker receives a Social Security check for about $1,558 each month. But depending on a lot of factors, your check could end up being substantially higher. For example, let's say that you start claiming Social Security at 62. Well, the max that you can receive each month is $2,364. Now, this brings me to a very important point, arguably the most important point of this video. Let's say that, for example, you decided to not retire at 62, but instead wait until you were 70. That's 8 additional years of work, which also means 8 additional years of investing, and it also means a substantially higher Social Security payout. In the last example, you were 55 years old and you retired at 62, giving yourself 7 years to invest. And at an 8% return from $0, your investment was able to grow to $65,000 over those 7 years. In the second scenario, you are still 55, but you wait until you're 70 to retire, which gives you 15 years of investing. And using the same numbers, this means your money would grow to $200,000, more than double that of the $65,000 from the last example. And because you waited until you were 70 to retire, your maximum monthly Social Security benefits would increase from $2,364 to $4,194 per month in 2022. And so just by waiting 8 additional years to retire, you not only doubled how much you earned with your investments, but you also double how much you'll earn each month through Social Security. And so this is the benefit of delaying retirement. If you're still healthy, you can still work, then you might as well continue working so that you can keep making more money so that you can save it and invest it. And your Social Security check will also be bigger. But again, this depends on a lot of factors. It's going to be very important that you take the time to go and do your own research on this. Also, this is a really helpful resource that you can use provided by the Social Security admin. This is a retirement benefits estimator. Keep in mind though, if you actually want to begin receiving Social Security benefits, you have to first apply for those benefits. So definitely do your own research and just make sure that you're taking your time when you're making these big financial decisions. Okay, so I forgot to record the outro, so here it is. Hey, I appreciate you so much for watching. You guys are amazing. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Also remember to drop a like down below for the YT algo. Follow me on Instagram at RealJoshuaMayo, and as always, you guys are amazing, and I will see you again very soon. Take care.